Well, we are live on YouTube. How's it going, guys? My name is Jared Fuller, aka the Jer Bear. Today's date is Sunday, September 4th, 2022. I am flying solo this week. Dad would usually be sitting on this couch over here, and Amy would usually be on the couch off camera that you actually can't see at all. So I hope you're all doing well. Um, as a matter of fact, Dad and Amy are out at my grandpa's old homestead over there. They are having an estate sale, and my uncle excuse me, my uncle and my aunt are over there. And so my dad and Amy decided to join them over there in the estate sale. So now I have the house to myself. I'm flying solo this week for the Sunday video update. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're having a safe and wonderful Labor Day weekend. My week last week was pretty good. I had made some arrangements to meet up with some friends of mine. And I'm going to try not to clear my throat so much if I can help it. But I have made some arrangements to meet up with some friends of mine. I have arranged video chats, dinner, hanging out over dinner and things like that. And I will be making a trip to the Upper Peninsula this weekend. And as a programming note, there will be no Sunday video update next week because I will be in the Upper Peninsula hanging out with a couple of Cancer Warrior brothers. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yesterday was a very busy day for me and Dad and Amy. We, first of all, our buddy Sabbath, he had stopped in not too long ago, and he had given us some free complimentary tickets to the Michigan Chicken Wing Festival in Lansing. So that's where we were, and they had an SCW event down there, and we watched that. We enjoyed the entertainment. And of course, we got him for free. It was a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and we had a ball yesterday. And on the way back home from Lansing yesterday, we had driven through a very heavy thunderstorm, and it rained so hard that I don't know, Dad had to have been doing at least 35 and a 55 because the rain was falling at an incredibly heavy rate, and it looked like it was 8 o'clock at night, and the headlights were, glaring off the wet pavement. It got really, really serious for a little while. There's no severe weather, but it rained heavily for quite a while. So I also wanted to remind you that the chat log is open. You are free to come in to say hello, but the very minute I suspect that you're being a dick, or if you're going to be an outright asshole, I'm going to ban you permanently, and then I'll go on with my life and you can go on with yours. But if you want to come in to say hi, you're going to be respectful. You're going to follow the rules and the guidelines of the chat logs, and I will have judicious use of the ban feature or the mute feature or whatever the case may be, should I need it. So there were some things I wanted to touch on this week. There's a lot to go over. I did record a daily rant the other night. It was in the middle of the night. I had a lot on my mind, and that's kind of where I'm going to dovetail, because I did talk about some things in the daily rant, the most recent daily rant. And so while I do understand that we are officially in September, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, there are some things that I need to put out there. Some very important issues, because my thought processes have changed since I, called myself an advocate and granted myself with the special virtue signaling label that, as it turns out, didn't mean shit in the end. But I'm okay with being a survivor. Now, I just want to say, because a lot of people on my Facebook, they, I would say that most of the population of my Facebook friends consists of people that I've met through the childhood cancer demographic. And we had spent any number of years pouring our hearts and souls out on Facebook to people to jump in on this, raise awareness and, post gold ribbons and talk stats and all that stuff. But I've noticed that a lot of my friends have opted out of sharing anything, or if they do, it's one post and that's it, which is fine. And I want to point out to those of you who think that because there's people who have opted out, they've decidedly opted out of talking about childhood cancer awareness. I want to make clear to you that just because people don't talk about it during the month of September, or at all for that matter, it does not mean in any way that they have stopped caring about children. It doesn't mean that they have stopped giving a damn about the feelings, or, it doesn't mean that they have stopped caring about kids in general, specifically kids fighting cancer. They are under no obligation to post gold ribbons, let alone talk about anything that they've been through or anything that their child has been through. They are under no obligation. And I've spotted a couple times already on Facebook where there are a couple of parents, specifically mothers, not just, the fathers really don't talk much about, but it's specifically mothers who will get so pissed off and bent out of shape because, well, I know there's so many of you out there who have been directly affected by childhood cancer, and you refuse to talk about it. Matter of fact, one of my friends deactivated her account because she was already annoyed with the gold ribbons and the stats and all that stuff. But we have got to stop equating this to the idea that, well, they don't post about it, that means they're anti-cure. No, these people are anti-bullshit. Maybe perhaps because, like me, after watching the direction that advocacy has taken, and the fact that we have been living under this spell for so many years, that if only we do this or only we do that, things might change. We have finally broken out of that. We've grown out of this way of thinking. And I think that's why most of my friends, a good majority, a good bulk of my Facebook friends from the childhood cancer demographic, is why they stopped posting gold ribbons and stopped talking about what they went through. Now, last September, I didn't talk about it at all. I opted out of talking about childhood cancer during the month of September, all around last September. And the reason I decided to kind of share snippets this September is because the viewership had changed on my Facebook, and there are new people that I became friends with from the pediatric oncology world. And there are specifics from those snippets of stories that they may not have otherwise been aware of. And I like to put that on my Facebook to share the stories, to give people an idea of exactly the things I've been through. Now, I'm under no obligation to do this. I didn't have to do it, but because of the fact that I have new friends and we've built, rather solid friendships, I decided to go ahead and talk about that a little bit. I have not posted gold ribbons. I have not posted stats. I'm just not going to get into that side of awareness. And I understand there are friends who have, and I'm not shaming them for it. I mean, that's their choice. If they want to do that, they can do that. They are free to do that. But we are also free to not do it. And we need to stop behaving as though, okay, we're not posting gold ribbons, we're not posting stats, so that means that we're against cures, we're against children. No, we are against the bullshit. For any number of years, even as an advocate, I was even convinced, I was under the spell that awareness leads to funding, funding leads to awareness leads to funding, funding leads to research, research leads to cures. And they're still using the same platitude in 2022. I used to believe that. I was under that same spell. But now that I'm not an advocate, I had thrown out a lot of things. I was careful to not throw out the baby with the bathwater because I still care about the individual child or the families in question when it comes to this stuff. And as a survivor, even I had to wake up to this, and I thought, you know what? I've been sharing this without actually thinking about what it says. And there is, I'm not convinced that that's true. I am not convinced that posting gold ribbons or posting stats on Facebook, I am not convinced that a domino effect happens to where if only we do this, it's going to lead to a cure. I am not convinced of that anymore. And I know this is going to tick a lot of people off, but I have yet to see sufficient credible evidence or data to support the claim that awareness leads to cures ultimately. I have not seen that anywhere, not even remotely. And I know there's still people out there who are posting this and they're convinced that awareness leads to cures and all this, that, and the other. And if we can be honest for a minute, if we can live a moment of reality, that I'm not saying it's not true, but I'm saying that I'm not convinced that that is the case. Because cancer, not just childhood cancer, but cancer in general, broadly across the board, is centuries old. And, scientists have been working around the clock, night and day, over the course of millennia, trying to figure this shit out and how to come up with a viable cure that is safe for patients to try, which is why there is such a thing as clinical trials. They have been testing this for years and years and years and decades and centuries on end. And this is another reason why I'm in opposition to CureFest, because not only is the name misleading, but there is no fucking cure for DIPG. There is no cure for each and every cancer known to exist to man. There is no cure for all cancers. There's no panacea for all cancers across the board. That's why scientists are working around the clock, night and day, trying to figure this shit out. And all these people who call themselves advocates, and they want to, be proud of the fact that they're advocates, like it's supposed to grant them some kind of special privilege, which, newsflash, it doesn't. Then you should be aware of the fact that what you're spewing in terms of awareness leads to funding, funding leads to research, research leads to cures, that is absolute garbage. And I think most people deep down, if they really think about this, they're going to agree with me on this. And no one, again, has had the balls or the spine to speak up and say anything, because they fear the backlash. They think, well, I can't say anything in opposition to what everybody's believing. Well, let me tell you something. Let me clue you in on a little secret. This train of awareness leads to cures ultimately, this train has long since derailed years ago. And people are still deciding and choosing to ride this train where the tracks lead to absolutely fucking nowhere. I jumped that train. I don't ride that train anymore. And this is not me saying that I don't care about children. Absolutely. It kills me to know that children are dying as a result of this stuff. It kills me to know that so many families are struggling. And it's not just financially, but even the emotional side of it also matters. It plays a huge role. I'm not saying I don't care. I'm just saying that most people, I think, if we can be honest, most people are very much aware of the fact that they've been spewing bullshit for any number of years. Even those of us who have put our heart and souls out there on social media, and we have tried to get people to understand, I think we've done our job. I think people are aware. We're all aware. I think the whole world is aware of childhood cancer. If you've never seen a St. Jude commercial in America, then you haven't been paying attention. St. Jude commercials are on all the time. If you're a fan of WWE wrestling, they are promoting Connor's cure for a warrior brother named Connor Mahalik, who passed away. And of course, my heart and my love and condolences go out to Connor's family. But separate from that, apart from that, all this, awareness leads to cures. I have yet to see some credible, sufficient evidence and data suggesting that this claim is true. And I have not seen that. I am not convinced. And I had to arrive at that conclusion with God, that thing called logic that nobody likes, the thing that people run away from because it hurts too much to actually have to think logically and critically and go by what reality is showing. It hurts people. It bothers people. And I understand that. And I'm not here to hurt anybody. I'm not here to discourage anybody or to dissuade anyone from doing what they do. But this precious little Walt Disney bubble that you live in, that we're going to raise awareness and awareness is going to lead to cures and we're all going to live happily ever after. Wake the fuck up. That's not how reality works. There's much more to it than that. Cancer is a much more complex thing, and it's much more than just posting gold ribbons and talking statistics. There has to be something to change fundamentally. I'm not saying that this is not the way to do it. I'm not saying that CureFest is not the way to do it. All I'm saying is you've been going to CureFest for any number of fucking years, and nothing over the course of the past almost 10 years has changed. Everything is the same as it was. The Star Act, well, whoop-de-doo. Who cares? Big, hairy, whatever. Nothing has changed. We know that nothing has changed, so we got to try something different. But the simple platitude of awareness leads to cures, like it's a domino effect, that to me is horseshit. And it's one of many reasons why I had decided to claim moratorium on awareness. Because, or just advocacy in general. You can spot the holes. You can spot the flaws. Don't just post it and say, oh, I'm virtue signaling. Oh, this is me being Mr. and Mrs. Sophistication. You have to actually understand what the fuck it is you're posting prior to posting it. Otherwise, you just make yourself look like an idiot. And I've had to really do a lot of thinking, and I've had to dig deep, and I had to consider a lot of things on the basis of logic, reason, and reality. And the reality is such that I am not convinced that awareness leads to cures until such time as someone can show me credible, sufficient evidence and data that posting a gold ribbon on social media is going to somehow fundamentally and incrementally change funding and research for childhood cancer. Until such time as that happens, I am not convinced. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Well, largely anyway, in this week's edition of the Sunday video update. And I understand that people get frustrated when they are friends with an overwhelming majority of people who are also directly impacted by pediatric cancer, and they're not saying anything about it. They're not posting it. They're not even acknowledging September. I mean, it's really at that point because, and for me, like I said, I chose to share snippets of my story or stories for this September because the viewership had changed on my social media. And in my bio, it says I'm a Wilms tumor childhood cancer survivor, which it's true. And I think, anybody reasonably being friends with me on Facebook from that demographic, they would expect to see stories and some kind of evidence to line up and back up the claim that I am a Wilms tumor survivor and that I have lived through that nightmarish event in my life. And I have lived that lifestyle, and I live the lifestyle as a survivor, but not everything in my life is directly correlated or kite-tailed to childhood cancer. I can live my life in any way I please. There's a lot of things that do, in fact, remind me of childhood cancer. And I just made this post about an hour ago on Facebook that everybody has their Lansing. Every warrior or survivor has their Lansing. So in other words, meaning that the city of which they associate their battle with childhood cancer, like Lansing was my battleground city. With air quotes, of course. So Lansing is my battleground city, and therefore, how I see it from the viewpoint and stance of a survivor, not a survivor. What's a survivor? I don't know. A survivor standpoint is that every other warrior or survivor who has gone through that they go to the specific city where the hospital is located. That is their Lansing, so to speak. And that's what I mean. And they could very well say that about me, like, well, every warrior survivor has their Philadelphia or their Houston or wherever the children's hospitals are located. Every warrior survivor has their Columbus or their Pittsburgh or whatever the case may be. So I'm just saying that from where I sit, stand, whatever, every warrior and survivor has their Lansing when it comes to childhood cancer. And it's not, I don't come here, of all times when I could have said this about awareness and such. Well, why does Jared wait until September to say this? He knows he's going to piss people off. Well, because September being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, I can't think of a better fucking time to bring that up, because that's when most people are paying attention. And so that's where I stand on the whole awareness leads to cures. Unless, of course, like I said, I can see some kind of credible evidence or data that will back up the claim, I am not convinced. Until such time as I see that, I'm not convinced that that is true. There's got to be evidence to support the claim that awareness ultimately leads to cures through this trickle down or domino effect, as it were. But I'm not convinced. And I'm sure that many others feel the same way. They just don't speak up, like I said, because they fear the backlash. And I don't give a fuck about the backlash, honestly. It doesn't deter me or stop me from, saying what I feel and speaking my mind and giving my opinions. Now, if it is, in fact, like I said, if awareness actually does lead to cures, show me where it does. And I'd be more than happy to change my mind and to retract my previous statement. But until such time, I'm not convinced. I had to jettison this idea that, the things I was saying over the years, it's like none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. The scientific community is already well aware of the situation, and that's why they work around the clock night and day. And I don't want to get into this conspiracist way of thinking, this conspiracy theorist way of thinking that there is a cure and they just won't demonstrate it to us. Well, you have adopted a burden of proof when you say that there is a cure. I'm not saying there is a cure, and I'm not saying there's not. And we've had that discussion too. And that's why I say Cure Fest, the name in and of itself, is a bunch of fucking loaded garbage, because we don't know of a panacea for childhood cancer or just cancer in general across the board. So, that's my position on that. And as far as getting upset with people who refuse to post gold ribbons and talk about their child's cancer diagnosis and to reiterate and recap on years gone by, they are not under any obligation to do so. And if you are one of those people who gets pissed off and you get this fit of rage, you get your panties in a twist, well, let me remind you that they are under no obligation to do that. They are free to not talk about it, just as you are free to talk about it. They respect your right to talk about it, and you should respect their right to not talk about it. It goes both ways. So there's my stance on that. And I know there's plenty more to get to. Yeah, this week I'm going to be planning a trip to the Upper Peninsula. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with some friends of mine in the Upper Peninsula, and I'm going to be meeting another warrior brother. We're currently friends on Facebook, but we have not actually met face to face. But that's going to change this weekend, hopefully. And so I'm totally looking forward to that. I'm going to be taking my Jared Bear with me, because when I tell the stories to the warriors, I like to have my Jared Bear with me and kind of make it funny and interesting and make it to where people will listen and actually take an interest in what it is I'm saying to them. But I'm really looking forward to it. And I've got plans to meet up with a friend. I guess she wanted to go to Ponderosa and Mount Pleasant or somewhere. because she lives in Gladwin. So Mount Pleasant would be southwest of her. She's diagonal from Mount Pleasant. She lives in Gladwin. Mount Pleasant's here. Gladwin's here. I guess she wants to meet me because she is friends with one of our mutual friends from the Childhood Cancer World, and she knows that I support our mutual friend's son, and I love up on him and show him love and support. I write letters to him and make little special videos for him and stuff in Messenger. So she wants to meet me and she wants to talk about things. She wants to, you know, get to know me as a person. And I'm really looking forward to that. I haven't been to a Ponderosa restaurant in who knows how long, since they closed down the Ponderosa restaurant in Owasso, which I'm really fucking mad about because I love going to Ponderosa. Even when they changed it over, when they had given it the makeover, I still love Ponderosa. I love the all you can eat buffet. But I hear they are obsolete. They're going out of style, but I think there's still a Ponderosa restaurant in Bay City. Um, I was just in Bay City too, last week. Yeah, I was in, up by the Saginaw Bay, and I, just went on a ride. I went to, Reese, and I talked about it last week. I went to Reese in Bay City and, went out to the bay, which was fun. And it did take my mind off a lot of things. But when I came home that night, I was really just super sad and depressed because I got to thinking about my grandpa, and I got to thinking about other people. And every so often, it comes in waves. And, I'm human. I have feelings and emotions just like anybody else. But it was kind of rough going for a little while. But lately, I've been busy. I've been staying focused. I'm reconnecting with people. I'm making new friends, and it's been fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some friends that, because we only talk on Facebook and we actually haven't met in person. And so I'm really, really looking forward to it. And of course, meeting another warrior brother in the Upper Peninsula, that's going to be fun. Just driving up there is going to be a hoot. Um, I might even take an updated video of me crossing the Mackinac Bridge, and I'll put it on my channel here. Won't be a problem. I can go through and edit and upload the video and share it with all of you. But yeah, lots to do. There's so much going on, and yeah, summer is going out with a bang. I'm trying to think of what else happened last week. Oh, we paid bills last week. I'm all caught up on my bills for the month of September. I paid my car insurance and my internet bill, and I pay the electric bill? I think I paid the electric bill. God, I better check because I don't want to have our light shut off. Let me see here. What's this? I didn't pay the electric bill. Uh-oh. I got to see when it's due. Oh, it was due on the 2nd. And today is the 4th. We're 2 days late, so I hope they don't send a shut-off notice in the mail. I'm going to have to get that out ASAP because I don't need to get a shut-off notice in the mail. Oopsie daisy. But they don't really give us much time because we don't get paid until the 1st. So, the due date's the 2nd. You guys got to give us more time to get the money order and get it sent out. I'm drinking iced tea, by the way. Currently out of Pepsi. So I'm glad I reminded myself because now I have to pay my electric bill before they send a shutoff notice. I don't want to be delinquent on any bills. But yeah, so tomorrow's Labor Day, which means that there will be no mail delivery, and most all federal government office buildings will be closed in observance. So there won't be mail delivery, and I won't be able to go to the post office to get a money order. I don't know if Frank's Supermarket does money orders. I don't know how much they charge, if they did. But I really got to get that electric bill paid. I don't want it to get too far beyond the due date. But yeah, so there's a lot going on this week, and I'm really looking forward to meeting a new warrior brother and hanging out with him and spending time with him. And of course, I matter of fact, before I went live here, I did a quick video chat with a young man who's not only an autism warrior, but he's also an epilepsy warrior as well. And we talked for a few minutes, and it's a sweet guy. And before we disconnected, or before we said our goodbyes, parted ways, he says, "I love you," and I said, "I love you more, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon." And that's how it ended. And it's like, I do have that connection with people. I just wrote him a letter last week. I just written him a letter, and so yeah, he lives out in Connecticut, and he asked me, he says, "Well, how long do you think it would take to get to Connecticut from Michigan, or from, vice versa?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. By plane, it shouldn't take long at all. Maybe, I don't know, just mere hours." But I would definitely have to look into that, and I will, because he really wants to meet me, and I hope I get to meet him. But see, that's the kind of the connections I have with people when they tell me they love me and they'll talk to me later. And that's just who I am, and that's what I'm about. And I love the fact that I have those connections with certain individuals. And for those of you who, you know, you thought you saw something bad about me, or you saw the worst in me, it's your fucking loss, because I'm still getting loved up on, and people are always happy to see me. And I've got friends from, I don't go a single day without getting messages from friends, uh, whether they be from the epileptic community, the autism spectrum, the childhood cancer world, or even my girlfriend, because now I have a girlfriend. I've had a girlfriend since August 9th. We're coming up on the 1 month anniversary of our relationship. It's been wonderful. We keep in touch on occasion. We're still making plans for me to go down. She's having a hard time right now. I'm not going to get into the specifics on that, but she's kind of having a rough time. She's hit a rough patch. She knows that she has me for emotional support. Anytime she wants to talk, that's what I'm here for. And so there's just so much going on. And I do maintain those friendships, the people that I have loved and cared about for any number of years. We still keep in touch. They still want to know how I'm doing. They still want to talk to me. They want to do phone calls and video chats and text messages and emails and messenger. They want to have these connections. As a matter of fact, as I pointed out in the Daily Rant recording, there are 2 people from UK who want to do video chats with me in Messenger, and I am looking forward to that as well. We just have to, arrange a time. One is a warrior sister and one's a warrior brother, and we're going to arrange a time to do a video chat. And I am definitely looking forward to having a face-to-face one-on-one conversation with these individuals, people that I love and care about deeply. So I'm looking forward to that. There's just so much going on, so much to look forward to. And I couldn't be more excited if my name was Excitey Exciterton. So I'm having a great time. Life's been pretty decent as of late. And I'm just looking forward to the conversations and meeting people. And I'm always interested in hearing what other people have to say in terms of what their opinions are about X, Y, and Z, and they can hear my opinions. A lot of people, because I talk about this any number of times on this channel, that I am an atheist, and a lot of people will preface each conversation with, "I know you're not religious. I know you don't pray. I know you don't do that. So then why are we having this conversation?" However, there is a friend of mine. She wants to send her child to a faith-based school. And she says, "I know you don't approve." And I had to remind her that, well, just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's still your child, your choice. I respect people who are Christian. I respect people who are atheist. I respect everybody's views. However, my atheism was gradual. I had to come to that conclusion on my own. And there are still lots of people out there who are Christian, my friends. They are Christian. They are firm believers in Christ. And they don't pressure me. They don't poke and prod at me about religion. They don't ask me questions about, do you believe in God? You never talk about God. Why don't you believe in God? Because I just don't believe in a God. I don't believe a God exists. And while they can be convinced that a God exists and that this mythical, mysterious God works in mysterious ways, no matter how much I think it's batshit crazy, they still have a right to believe what they believe. It's not for me to tell them that they shouldn't believe it. That you can believe whatever you want, but just don't make decisions based on religion, which, by the way, religion is harmful. And you shouldn't be basing decisions on religious beliefs, on religious doctrine. And I don't talk about religion a lot in my Facebook, or I don't even talk about religion at all on Facebook. I don't talk about religion as much on YouTube. And I stay away from politics altogether. My dad talks about politics. I choose to stay out of politics. I'm not educated enough on a lot of the issues going on to really give 2 cents about what I think is going on. I'm indifferent to politics and religion. I just assume not talk about things like that. There's people who say to me, "Oh, I'll pray for you. I'm praying for you all the time." Well, okay, that's fine. Although prayer is ineffective, but I appreciate the gesture that you want to pray for me, or you're at least thinking about me. I appreciate that all the time. But I'm not convinced that prayer works, and it actually proves to not work. But I'm not going to get into that because that's going to end up into a great big whirlwind and a shit storm that I really don't want to have to deal with later today, because it's still early. I don't know what my plans are for today, but I'm looking forward to enjoying the rest of this day and socializing with friends. And I might even go uptown to see what's happening. I might go to Chesaning, take a drive into town, see what's going on. I don't know. I haven't decided yet because I'm home alone currently. Dad and Amy, they'll get back whenever they get back. I don't know if they're watching this from over there, because I don't know if they get internet service over there of any kind, because I never got internet service back there when I went to Grandpa's. But I'm sure they will see it, or Amy will see it. And yeah, so I wanted to talk about what I talked about this week, with this being the first month, or the first Sunday in the month of September, rather. And I know there's a lot of people who turn to me for opinions and thoughts. Being a child of cancer survivor, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And I don't mind sharing or expressing my thoughts and opinions about things, but I'm a survivor first. Back then, how I would phrase it, I'm an advocate first, survivor second. No, I got that wrong. I am a survivor first, advocate second. But now I'm not even an advocate, so I'm just a straight survivor, which I am perfectly okay with. I am fine with that. All day, every day, I am fine with the idea, or with the notion. It's not, well, I guess it's not even really a notion. It is a fact. I am a childhood cancer survivor through and through. Period. Point blank, end of discussion. I don't need special labels, because labels only make a person feel as special as they're actually not. And I had to learn that the hard way. I am not an advocate. Maybe perhaps I never was, but I was really serious in, I really wanted to work with people, with other people. I wanted to work it, like I wanted to team up with the likes of Tom Mitchell, because there was a time when we had gotten along. I wanted to team up with the likes of, at the time, Ronnie Duvall. I wanted to team up at the time with the likes of Milk Tyson. But I found out that in some way, one way or the other, in some shape or form, there's a lot of narcissism occurring, which is why I said, fuck all 3 of you. I want nothing to do with any of you, because it's not about you, and it's not even about me. You can't have specific cliques and groups, different groups of people and cliques, and then still call it a community. Do you know how fucking ridiculous you look when you stick to certain individuals, and then this group sticks to a certain, this group sticks to a certain, and so on and so forth, and you all want to call yourselves a community collectively? Do you know how stupid that looks? And do you know how stupid you sound when you call it a community, it's not a community. It never was. As a whole, we are a demographic. We are a subjugated group of people. We are a minority. We've always been. We always will be, perhaps. Childhood cancer is not just a poor person's disease. It is an every person's disease, as I have pointed out any number of times. And you have people who, and this is what I find to be really particularly interesting, provided the fact that these people who have money, lots of money, and they show up at CareFest and they want to talk about, well, 4% is not enough and the government cares more about money than people. This coming from someone who's got money. This coming from someone who lives in a fancy brick house with an in-ground pool, and you drive a 2023 vehicle. You have an electric vehicle, and you live the high life, but the government cares more about money than people. I find that to be ironic. And you can live whatever life you want, but just don't bitch about the government caring more about money than people when you yourself care more about the money. It's absurd. It's obnoxiously absurd. The hypocrisy runs vein deep in the childhood cancer world, or community, as they put it, that they don't even realize that Tattoo Tom, perfect example. I mean, he's covered with all these tattoos. Tattoos are not cheap, by the way, but in his TED Talk, he wants to drone on about, oh, we spend more in potato chips than in childhood cancer awareness. How much did you spend in those fucking tattoos you're wearing? How much do those cost? Those cost way more than potato chips. And most people between Starbucks and potato chips and tattoos are really fucking super expensive compared to potato chips and Starbucks. Again, it's just that peculiar to me that people will complain about certain things going on with politics and government and underfunding of childhood cancer research or whatever the case may be, but they are living that life now. They are living a life of money and popularity contest. There's an ego thing going on here. I caught on to that shit a long time ago. It's like, I don't need a spokesperson. I don't need people speaking for me. I speak for myself. And when I speak for myself or I offer my opinions, it just so happens that other people listen and they think that what I say makes sense, and therefore they follow that. Which, I'm not trying to lead anybody. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from thinking a certain way, as I pointed out at the top of the video. I share my thoughts and opinions. And if other people agree with that, that's fine. If other people are in opposition to that, that's fine too. But I see through a lot of this shit going on, and I'm not convinced of there's a lot of things I'm not convinced of anymore. However, with that being said, that doesn't mean that I love my friends or their children any less than I have before. I love them the same, if not more. And that's where we have to detach this idea that, oh, because people don't spread awareness or they don't post gold ribbons, they don't talk about stats, they don't post anything, so they don't care. Well, we have to stop thinking in that mentality. We have to break free of that way of thinking, because that is clearly not the case. It's not the case at all. Parents love their children. Absolutely. All parents, every parent in the world loves their kids. The childhood cancer demographic is no different. Parents love their children. When they die, they grieve. And they are frustrated and they're angry. And if I was in their shoes, I would probably be the same way. I would be angry and frustrated. But I would also have to think in terms of reality, not some fairy tale way of thinking and looking at the world that, okay, the things I'm saying on Facebook, more than four, and awareness ultimately leads to cures. You got to think about what you're saying before you say it. You actually, if you care at all about the truth, you have to actually stop and analyze the platitudes that are being strewn forth across the demographic. Oh, well, awareness leads to funding, funding leads to research, research leads to cures. Well, we don't know that that is true. We have no idea. We have no evidence or data showing that something as simple as posting a gold ribbon is going to lead to a cure and some strange domino effect that occurs over time. It's just not the way it works. If that's really the way it worked, if awareness actually led to a cure, we would have had a fucking cure by now, because awareness has not been, it's not just a few years old. Awareness has been a decades long situation. It has been a decades long initiative. It's not something that is exclusive. It didn't just happen last night. So where's the cures? We have cures for most cancers, but not all cancers. See what I'm saying? So there's that going on. And it's not to discourage people, but it's to get people to understand and to wake up to what it is they're actually saying. Do you actually fucking believe that awareness leads to cures? I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced. And until someone shows me credible, sufficient evidence or data that would support that claim, until such time as that happens, I'm not convinced. And I'm sorry if that upsets people, but that is the reality, and that is the truth, and that is the logic and rationality that I would only hope people would apply. It may not be a comfortable truth, but it is a proper application of logic and reasoning. You have to apply it somewhere. So I'm not here to piss anybody off, but I'm going to speak my mind about some things. And I'm sorry if that ruffles feathers, but that's just the way it is. We have about 10 minutes left in the show already. I can't believe that hour went by so quickly. No one is in the chat log, which maybe if you're a troll, because I think there's one person watching, if you're a troll watching this and you were tempted to say something stupid, yeah, let's not say we did. Let's not go there, because I will extinguish you from the chat log instantly and permanently, and you'll be history. But lots happening this week. The dogs are barking, so I don't know if Dad and Amy have made it home yet, but if they happen to walk in the middle of the video, that's fine. I got 10 minutes left, so I don't think they're going to be home in 10 minutes, but we'll see. We'll wait and see. I'm just really looking forward to what's to come this week. Lots of amazing and fantastic people that I just cannot wait to meet, and dinner plans with a friend, which is awesome. I'm trying to have some dinner dates with my girl. I want to, get some reservations made and take her out to dinner, treat her and her son to dinner. And one last thing about childhood cancer before I wrap up this week's edition of the Sunday Video Update, which, by the way, thank you for stopping by and indulging me and listening to the things I have to say. I've said this once and I've said it 1,000 times. I'm really sick and tired of the way indirectly affected people will pontificate about a life that they've never lived personally. And that includes the Mike Tysons of the world and the Ronnie Duvals of the world. People like that disgust me. And I know, yes, Jared, you're still talking about Ronnie Duvall and you're still talking about Mike Tyson. Yes. Yes, I am. Because people who have never had to live this kind of a life personally have nothing to say about it. They have no right to pontificate as if they know what the fuck they're talking about. They have no right to do that. And that goes for anybody who is indirectly affected by this. Now, it's true that I do have friends who are indirectly affected by childhood cancer. And one of them, actually one of them is a DIPG advocate. And I was just speaking with her last week in a text message, and we always have civilized conversations. She is a sweetheart of a girl. She's always been a really sweet friend of mine. And I'm glad that we have been able to maintain this friendship for any number of years. And she didn't buy into the bullshit that was being said all this time. But we have had conversations, and she is not someone who speaks profoundly about DIPG as though she has lived it herself, because she has her own medical issues and her daughter has medical issues now that she's trying to process and work through. But she has never one fucking time come to me and spoke about DIPG as though she has lived the reality of that. And I have the utmost respect for her because she knows how to advocate without being narcissistic. She knows how to advocate without having an ego attached. She understands what I've been saying. She understands that when you work in opposition of what other people are doing, the overwhelming majority of the population of this demographic, when you work in opposition to what they're doing, you are actually doing a huge service to the demographic as a whole. Because the more we see people programmed to say certain things, behave in certain ways, the more we see that, the more we can understand and see for ourselves. And we come upon this discovery that the way that they're doing things is not effective. It's not working. And when you have someone who is brave enough to speak against the element, which is the overwhelming majority of people who think that what they're doing is correct and the right way, and they think that they're making a difference. When you speak in opposition to that, there's a good chance that these people who have been closeted and they're thinking for all this time, they're going to hear what you say, they hear what I say, and they're going to gravitate to that. And they're going to say, you know what? A lot of people don't like him, but he's speaking truth, and I understand why people don't like him. And that's fine. You don't have to like me. I don't care. But it's okay to speak and even work in opposition to the overwhelming majority. They may think they're the majority in the childhood cancer advocacy world that they live in, but really collectively we are all the minority. We are all the minority. The demographic itself is the minority. It's okay to speak out and speak up. And if we're going to talk about advocacy, advocate in opposition to what people are doing. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just giving my opinion as a survivor first and always. So I'm going to see how many more minutes we have left. We are down to about, still got 8 minutes left. But yeah, don't be afraid to speak up. And yes, it does come with backlash. I mean, and this particular friend of mine, by the way, who I also wanted to point out because we've had this discussion, and I asked her because she does work for an organization which will remain nameless. I'm not going to put the organization on blast, but she does a lot of work, awareness work for this particular organization. And I asked her, and not to be condescending, but I asked her, I said, do you have any legal binding obligation to this organization that you are advocating for? And she says, no, I'm not under any legal binding arbitration with them. I don't have to do anything under a contract. Excuse me. I don't have to do anything under a contract, but from a moral standpoint, I'm just choosing to stick around. And she is also friends, by the way, with people who are now my quote unquote enemies. Like, I won't put names out there. I was almost tempted, but I'm gonna refrain from saying names. I'll reserve that for the daily rant. But she's friends with people who are now alleged enemies of mine, which I don't even think they're enemies. And if they are, fuck them. Who cares? But she says that she maintains these relationships because of the fact that I don't know. I guess she's. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I guess she's afraid that people are going to give her shit because they've already accused her of turning her back on the DIPG demographic, which she hasn't. She hasn't, and I can see that. But I think she lives with this fear that she's going to get backlash for, you know, ridding certain people out of her life. And I keep telling her, you are not obligated to be friends with anybody. You're not. However, if someone's going to treat you like shit, although, you know, okay, maybe there's a better way of handling the situation. If someone's treating me like shit, I want to know why they are. I want to know what I did that would, you know, urge them or prompt them to treat me like garbage. I want to know, because if I'm doing something wrong, I need to improve on that. I don't come here with this mentality or this notion that I'm always correct and I can't learn anything new. No, I'm always open to learning anything new. But what I'm saying is, I'm not going to let people walk all over me, and I'm not obligated to sit and take shit from them. They're not obligated to tell me why they treated me like shit. But if we can be human about it and if we can better ourselves, we need to have the conversations. Maybe I fucked up somewhere where I didn't notice or I just didn't spot it right away, and it could have been an honest mistake. But most of the time, it's people who just read something. Someone is told something, like there's this whispering shit going on, messaging. Just ask Justina Banks. She'll fill you in on that. There's all that going on. And what I'm saying is, I want to know what convinced you that I am this person. Did someone tell you, or is there actual evidence that would convince you that I am this horrible person that everybody, well, not everybody, but most people say that I am? And when they can't answer that question honestly, they resort to, well, just leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, so you are a dishonest individual who can't even give me a straight and honest answer. And that's all I need to know. If you can't be honest enough with me to have a conversation, when I ask you who or what convinced you, I don't care about the who. It's the what that matters the most. What convinced you? What proof or evidence do you have that would convince you that what these people are saying about me is true? And when they come up empty-handed on that, which is usually every fucking time, that tells me everything I need to know about that individual. And maybe perhaps it's best that we don't communicate and associate, because if you're going to believe everything you're told, then stay the fuck over there and leave me with my actual true friends who don't believe everything they are told. It's really that simple. You have to wake up to a lot of things, as painful as it is. That's why it's called growth. Growth is painful. It's uncomfortable. And it does hurt when you have to abandon ship on things that you truly believe in or once believed in. But I'm telling you, it's essential. Growth is essential for everyone. That's what leads us to real, true progress. And maybe perhaps we can work together, and it can lead to broken relationships being healed and rekindled. And we can, okay, let's pick up where we left off. We left off on a bad note. Let's start over. Let's try this again. And I've done that with several people. So, you know, I'm not going to say anything is possible, but there's always the possibility that things can improve if you just take the time to have the conversations. Take the time to work on repairing what's broken, if you can repair it. And that includes having the conversations about, you know what, man, I listened to what these people said, and I was stupid. I was wrong for believing it. I don't want you to admit that you're stupid. You weren't stupid. You weren't stupid. You just didn't think. And it happens. We all get in these situations where we don't think. We go by what a majority of people say. We have this appeal to popularity where if enough people say it, it must be true because where there's smoke, there's fire. Not necessarily. Because while the saying is where there's smoke, there's fire, well, you're claiming smoke, but you have not identified the fire. So, I'm always open to the possibility that, hey, I was mistaken about you. I shouldn't listen to what people say unless they have evidence. And I'm willing to have the conversation with you. And I hope we can be friends. And I apologize for believing things without any good reason. I am more than open and willing to have those conversations. But you have to be willing to. That's going to wrap it up for this week's installment of the Sunday video update. I got a lot out this week. My name is Jared Fuller, aka the Jer Bear. I will see you in 2 weeks because I won't be here next week. I'll be in the Upper Peninsula. So there will be no Sunday video update next week, but the week after that. So much love as always. I will talk to you guys soon. Hit me up on Facebook. We will have video chats and wonderful conversation. So I love you all. Have a good one and take care.